Hi, my name is Jason Van Veldhuizen, founder of Precision Striking. In this video, I want to cover everything that you need to have an excellent jab. Now, when covering the jab, there are four main areas that you need to consider. First is technique. You want to make sure that your body is in the right position, that the delivery of your jab is smooth and efficient, that every component is in the right position. You also want to make sure that you're on the right balance so that you can deliver the jab and move effectively afterwards. The second component for a great jab is type. You want to have more than one type of jab in your arsenal. You want to have a variety of jabs. This makes your offense and your jab less predictable. It also forces your opponent sometimes to defend in certain ways so that you can create openings and hit other targets. As well, different types of jabs allow you to more easily set up different offense and follow up with your other techniques. The other aspect of your jab that you need to consider are tactics. Tactics are how you integrate the rest of your boxing together with your jab. Primarily, this is setups and counters. In this video, we're going to go over a number of ways to set up the jab using other punches, fakes and feints, using footwork, and creating angles. As well, we're going to go over how to land the jab and set up the jab off of counters, using defense and covers, using what the opponent throws at you so that you can counter and land your own jab. And the last area that's very important to consider is training. When you're in your regular training sessions, how do you focus the jab? How do you integrate your other boxing specifically with drills and exercises to get the most out of your jab? So in this video, I'm going to give you a guideline for how you should train your jab to get the most out of it and develop it at the highest level. So wherever you are in your boxing, I'm confident that if you implement the concepts and drills taught in this video, integrate them into your regular training, that you'll be well on your way to developing an amazing jab. So in this section of the video, we're going to go over the technique of the jab, how to make sure that everything is in proper alignment, everything is delivered accurately all the way from the bottom of the feet up, out through the shoulders, elbows, and the hands. Now, keep in mind that the jab and the straight left are almost the same thing. The jab is usually what starts a combo or starts a sequence. The straight left will be thrown after another punch. So just keep in mind that I'm going to be using the term jab to refer to both, either the jab or the straight left. Everything coming out straight like so is going to be the jab throughout this video. So to go over the technique of the jab, we're going to go over exactly how it should be done and then look at common errors so that you can make sure how you don't have those errors or you don't have those bad habits in your boxing. And then I'm going to go over a drill at the end to show you how you can be mindful of your position and errors and make sure to weed them out during training. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get into your stance. Now, we're not going to go over all the details of stance in this video, but in general, you're going to have your elbows in front of your ribs. Your feet are going to be in a balanced position where the toe is lined up with the heel, and most of the weight primarily on the back foot so that you can drive forward, and we're going to go over more details on that later. From here, your knuckles are up about the height of the corners of your mouth or the height of your cheekbones with your chin down, so right here. This is the general position. Now, to throw the jab, one thing that you want to make sure is that your feet and your hands all work together. We're going to start with the hand position. From here, whether your hands are at your mouth, at your chin, or out, you want to let your left hand deliver straight out until you reach just past 90 degrees. After you reach just past 90 degrees, you want to make sure to turn it over. As you turn it over, then your body and shoulder will start to extend with your chin down. So to go over that again, your hand comes out. Once you get to the 90-degree point, you start to turn the hand over. As you turn the hand over, your body turns. As your body turns, your shoulder actually extends forward. And this is very important. A lot of beginners are throwing the jab this way, and they're not bringing that shoulder forward. I would say that that's something to keep in mind when you're going from a very beginner jab to an intermediate or more advanced jab. You're able to bring that shoulder out to get full extension on the jab. So from here, bringing that hand straight out, chin is tucked down. Make sure that this other hand doesn't move. It's very common to see this right hand dropping. So make sure that that stays right in the same position as it is when you start. Another thing that's very important with the jab is your feet and how you drive off of your feet and why it's so important to have more of the weight on the back leg. If my weight is forward, I've got nothing behind me to push and send me forward. So I at least want my weight 55-45 or 60-40, depending on how you feel comfortable. So from here with the back foot, I can sync everything together. I push, and then I go forward with that jab. Push, and full extension all the way out. Last final point, in a standard jab, when I take that hand and turn it, I want my arm to go to its natural conclusion. I want to let it turn over and flow and stop right where it naturally would stop. So I don't want to force it to stop here. I want it to turn fully over. So as I'm in this position, turning the jab, I let it go to full extension, and if that means turning it over a little bit, then that's good. Now, common errors that you might have when throwing the jab. The first, most common one is pulling and preloading before you throw it. So very common, you'll see boxers, beginner boxers, pull that hand before they throw it out, dropping it and throwing it. So in this case, what you want to do is you want to be mindful of your hand position, and a drill that you can do to fix this is to take some time. You can either look in a mirror or just be mindful of your hand and think of only everything coming forward. You're moving and just snapping it out straight. Make sure that that hand doesn't go before you let it out. Moving around for a round, and everything comes forward. Same thing goes with the feet. If I'm moving around, I don't want to let my weight go forward, because then if I want to move forward, I have to come back to my back leg before I go. So keep that weight on the back foot. Then as you're moving, as soon as it lands, you can drive forward. Even if you're not moving around, if I have my weight on the back leg, everything will come forward. Like so. So that's one of the most common mistakes you're going to see with the jab, is the pre-pull or the preload before you throw it. Next most common mistake you'll see is after throwing the jab, when you bring it back, you want to relax the elbow and just let it come right back to its original position. A lot of boxers will bring that hand back and let it go back to a position below where they started from. So it's very common to see this. So again, this is awareness, mirror techniques, drilling, and repetition, making sure that wherever you start, that hand comes right back. Right back to its start position. Being mindful of where your start position is so you don't drop that hand and get caught with a shot coming over top, and so also that your hands are in the best position for defense. A third way that a lot of beginners make a mistake with the jab is that they bring it actually back to the right position, but they roll it. And you won't even really see yourself or catch yourself doing this until you're really pushing yourself at a hard and fast pace. You'll see a lot of boxers try to roll that punch. So in your mind, you want to think that you're almost punching down and through a pipe. You want your hand to come straight through, relax the elbow, and bring it straight back. Straight through and straight back. This way, you have a better leverage and drive through on your shot. You're not rolling it. And you also bring that hand back quicker so you don't have this time where your hand is rolling and an opponent can catch you. So again, throwing straight out and straight back. So with the technique of the jab, a number of things to be mindful of. Mainly, the whole position of your body, balance on the back leg, elbow down, driving through and turning that hand over, extending the shoulder out while you turn the body. Making sure that everything comes forward. Bring the hand back to the chin. Make sure not to drop it. Bring it back down the same path that it traveled. And those are all the aspects, the main aspects of having good technique with a standard jab. Okay, so in the first section, we covered the technique for the standard jab. Now, in this section, we're gonna go over 4 different types of jabs, 4 other types of jabs, so you're gonna have 5 in total in your arsenal. Now, when you have different types of jabs, there are certain advantages and drawbacks, and we're gonna go over each in this section. Again, as well, when you're looking at different types of jabs, some of them come out smoother and faster, some of them are more effective from different range, and also as well, they land in different areas on your opponent, different parts of the face. As well, based on how your opponent defends and is blocking the jab, you might be able to get your jab around the guard, and so it forces your opponent to defend in certain ways, also makes you less predictable. The first jab is a vertical fist jab, and it also can be back fisted a little bit. So we threw the standard jab in the first section here like this, where the hand came from your standard stance, your neutral position, and it turned over, came straight through. In this case, we're gonna throw the jab straight with a vertical fist, like so. Now, one of the advantages to this jab is that it's just a little bit harder to read. It's a little bit less telegraphed, because from this position, it just comes straight out. There really isn't much going on beforehand to preload it. It's easier to get that jab off, and so it's sort of less telegraphed. The other advantage with that sort of jab is just by the hand being like this, it can often fit right between the gloves or right below and between the gloves. If you have a small target to place right between the gloves, you can do so. The other advantage to the vertical fist jab is that you can sort of throw it to the left side of your opponent's face if you are an orthodox, or if you're a southpaw, you can sort of tag the right side of their face up here with it. So instead of coming straight through like your standard jab, if you have an opening on the side, you can sort of almost back fist that jab and hit different parts of the opponent's head. If they want to defend, that's going to force them to move their head a certain way to defend. Also, it's going to force them to move their hand over a little bit more to defend, to cover that area, which is going to either create other openings for you, or you're just simply going to land it. The drawbacks to the vertical jab, there aren't really many, but I find that it's hard to get a lot of power because you're not torquing and turning that shoulder and coming straight through with it, because you're almost sort of flicking it and just tagging it. It's hard for that to be a power jab, although it can be if you really drive, but it doesn't have the same amount of power as the standard jab. So let me just demo a little bit on the bag for you of how you're going to use it, so you can see a little bit more of the fist placement and how you can use this jab effectively. So here I am on the bag. First of all, instead of your standard jab, which drives straight through like so, from here, I'm sort of gonna whap it. Now, the way you wanna think of it is that there's a bug on the bag, and you just wanna crush that bug. You're not trying to drive through and drill through this bag. You're not trying to drill through your opponent's head with this jab. So from here, just a nice double or a single. This could be going right through the gloves, like so. Or if I wanna tag up top here, and you don't have to move much on the bag to simulate the amount of change in position to hit the opponent's head, I can go and sort of get my knuckles to tag that top part of the bag right here. Now you're also going to find that you can get nice quick range with this jab, right? It doesn't require much out of you. This quick tagging motion is really nice and smooth. So the vertical jab, great for a nice long range, great for hitting different parts of the head, fitting your hands through, less telegraphed, but also not as much power. Okay, the next type of jab we're gonna go over is what I call an arced jab. And essentially the arc jab has a lot more power, or at least a little bit more power than most of the other jabs. And it also comes from sort of a looped position that is harder to defend. As well, this arcing trajectory tends to set up other shots and allow you to tilt and move your head in ways so that you can set up other shots, uppercuts, shots to the body, etc. Now the downside to the arc jab is that it leaves you open for that split second. So sometimes you might want to use this other hand to defend, and we're going to go over those details. Generally, the trajectory of the arc jab is that instead of throwing this jab straight or through like the vertical fist, you're going to bring it around so it comes up a little bit and down like so. So if I was to go from the start, it would come up and then you would drop it right down, and you can use your body and your step in to get leverage. Now, instead of doing that, what I actually often like to do is move to the right and leave my hand where it is. If I'm in front of my opponent here, I'll move to my right a little bit and I can leave my hand where it is and throw it from there and sort of get that loop. When you get that loop, it's a little bit harder to defend with the typical jab defense, which is a catch. It tends to come over and forces the opponent to block differently or to move their head differently to get away from it. So with that variety in your mix, it tends to throw off your opponent. The arc jab, so again, if I'm here, I like to set it up by moving to the right and leaving my hand where it is, and then from there, I'm gonna come around and come right through. The disadvantage is that you're open for that split second. If I'm concerned about safety and my opponent isn't throwing check left hooks a lot, I can use my right hand to guard my face here and protect myself and be safe with it. While I'm in this position, I can go low to the body or come up with an uppercut. It's a great setup for right hands that are going low or coming from low to high, like so. So on the bag, just to demo it, from the start position, I'm gonna come up and around. I'm gonna try to loop it and drive down with it right through. So here, now again, what I like to do is often from left to right, instead of looping it fully, I'll leave my left hand over a little bit so that I don't have to do any extra motion. I'm moving, and then all of a sudden my left hand is there, and then I'll just throw it. So if I'm in motion, and then I'll just throw it right from there. And then after I throw that jab, I can go to the body, or come out with other shots created based on those openings. In slow motion, moving, here, boom, and I drop it down. And then I can throw other punches right here. So the arc jab, hard to defend, a lot of power, but leaves you a bit open. The next jab that we're gonna talk about is what I call the up jab. And it's sort of like an uppercut and a jab together. It's a jab that comes straight and up, almost like an uppercut. But instead of an uppercut where you're turning the body and driving through and rotating, you're actually gonna come forward with it and drive straight up. Now, the advantage of the up jab is that it's another one of these ones where it's hard to defend. It's harder to predict that pathway and defend it with the typical catch because it tends to come under. Also, if you set it up in different ways with head movement, it gives the illusion that you're gonna throw another punch, like a left hook or a left uppercut. The opponent often doesn't think that you're gonna go from this dip position to coming straight through with the jab. So just to demo the up jab on the bag, how you're gonna come through with it. The setup is very important. So when I'm in my position here, it's hard to really just throw this straight from your normal position. So that's another one of the disadvantages, that you often have to set it up, either faking throwing the right hand or faking with a slip so that you can get your head tilted over to the side. From here, you're gonna step in and come up with it. Now the bag obviously isn't gonna be like an opponent. So when you're hitting the bag, you're not gonna get that same feel of driving up through an opponent. So all you do is just take your hand and stuff it through, just for training purposes. In shadow boxing, you can work, and then you're gonna get that full up feel. So for the up jab, you best set it up by shifting, faking to get your head over to the one side, and then you come through with it. Another aspect that's important with the up jab is the feet. It's not as easy to push. You almost have to do a little jump when you throw it, almost like you're throwing a little jump left hook. It's not really a jump, it's just a short shift of both feet. If you watch both my feet, they're both coming forward with that punch. So keep that in mind when you're setting it up. I'm gonna go over this a few times for you right now. I set up with my tilt, dropping, and then both feet coming forward and through. To set up the up jab. So the up jab, again, another punch that's hard to predict, hard to defend, but the downside is it does leave you open when the hand is delivering up. Also, it requires a little bit of a setup that can be picked up on if you go to it too much. Okay, the last jab in the arsenal is what I call a short jab. And a short jab, when thrown intentionally, can be used for a number of purposes. A short jab is basically 75% of a real jab, maybe more like 85% of a real jab. The goal of the short jab is to draw your opponent out to follow up with other offense. The short jab isn't necessarily a weapon in and of itself. Or if you're in close, you can use the short jab as a quick counter, and we'll go over that in a second. So the first thing, when I throw a full jab, my whole body commits, everything comes forward, regardless of what it is. But with the short jab, I'm just gonna throw to the gloves and then either move my head or move, hope that my opponent throws, and then go with something. So for example, I might go here and just throw a short one and then move my head and then follow up with more punches. Or I might go here, throw a short jab, and then dip, and then come up with more punches. The short jab is meant just to get a little bit of contact so that you can follow up with more offense after. Again here, if I'm on the bag and I'm in close, I throw that short jab, I'm just gonna touch it, and then you can set up power shots, depending on your style. Or even if you're a long-range fighter, you throw a short jab to pull back, and then you're gonna follow up with more shots. Same thing, I throw it short, just touch it, I may drop, and then follow up with more offense. This is how you can use the short jab to set up offense. Another way you can use the short jab that I've used a lot is as a counter punch. If you are in a guard position and you're blocking shots, it's not always easy. You don't always have enough time to get off that left hook. The right hand coming from back here also is too slow. It may take a while. So your opponent's throwing punches, you can see them right between your gloves. You have enough time just to get a quick jab off so that you can follow up with more punches. You're blocking, moving around, blocking, and then you get that punch in there. So it's good to be able to throw the short jab so that you can jab from all ranges, either to draw the opponent out and throw, or as a counter when you're in tight, boom, and then you can follow up with more offense. So in summary, different types of jabs. They all have their advantages and disadvantages. Depending on your style, there are some that you might use more, or you may need to develop your boxing so that you can use some that you're not familiar with. Generally, the short jab for in close, drawing the opponent out. The up jab is a little bit less predictable. The vertical jab, fast and can fit between small spaces and set up other offense as well. And the arcing jab for a lot of power and so that it's harder to defend. And I'm confident by mixing these types of jabs into your arsenal that you'll have definitely a much more effective jab. So now we're going to get into the tactics section of the jab and how to integrate the rest of your boxing with the jab. In this particular area, we're going to go over faking and feinting to set up the jab, as well as all the different things that you can do with the double jab and how that works with your footwork. Before we get into anything more on tactics, I want you to have a basic understanding of distance so that you know your ideal distance for throwing the jab. This is sort of your benchmark place where you'll start from, and then it can be adjusted from there. In general, if you hold your jab out at full extension while touching the bag, and then take a comfortable step back, this is your ideal distance from the opponent. This is sort of the distance that it takes with one quick step to get to your opponent to hit them. Anything closer, and you can still get to them, but you also allow your opponent to get closer to you, so it gets more heated. You are almost inside the pocket working at that point. Anything further out, and then you start to lunge to get to your opponent. Now, the reason why this is sort of your base or your neutral standard position to start, which is the length of your jab plus a step, is that if you have longer range relative to your opponent, you will be able to step in a little bit closer and get away with it, because if they're shorter than you with shorter reach, they still have a long way to go, whereas you can almost sort of buy yourself a little bit of space and be right in on top of them with that jab. As well, if you have shorter reach and they have a long reach, you might not be able to get to your ideal distance right away. You might have to step a little bit out and use head movement and work around. It might take you a couple moves to get in, or a fake, boom, to get in before you can land your shot. So understanding your distance is sort of the first thing you need to know when it comes to all of your tactics and using the rest of your boxing to set up your shots and to land the jab. So the first thing that I want to cover is faking the jab in order to set up the jab. Now, essentially a fake is 80% of a real jab, or actually you could almost say that's maybe like half of a real jab. So if I'm in here, instead of throwing the full jab, boom, all I want to do is come a little bit short with it. Just pull it a little bit short. You have to have real intent in your mind, and developing the real intent is the trick to good fakes. So that's why the more you practice your boxing, the better your fakes and feints are going to be. So as I'm moving around, I fake, but with real intent. As you get better, you can sell it with just a small motion. It might take just a little step with the foot, or a little hand drop to lure the opponent out, or just putting that hand out a little bit to set up the fake to draw the opponent out in order to come through with your shot. So keep in mind when you're faking, it can be anything from the hand to shoulder drops, head movement, footwork, everything in there. You're going to take your real jab that you would intentionally throw, bring it all the way back to the smallest motion you can, and start to work from that. Fakes are one of your number one tactics. And the timing in between the fake and the throw is also another aspect. So you might fake and throw, like so. Or you might fake, and then throw. So again, tactics, integrating the rest of your boxing. As you understand fakes, you start to also understand timing and rhythm, and you can work with those together to set up your jab more effectively. Take some time when in your training, in your boxing, to work on fakes, particularly with your jab together. Have some fun with it. Fake. You can also fake different types of jabs. Maybe you want to fake this type of jab, or fake the arc jab, fake to the body, and then throw your jab after that. Faking is an integral part of tactics for setting up your jab. Now, the next component of the jab is the double jab. And the double jab is very important for setting up all your offense, because it works with your hands and your feet together. So first, let's go over the double jab with the foot position. When I'm in my stance and throwing the jab, the first one's going to come off of a push. And the second foot is in here ready to push again. Now, the faster the feet, the faster the hands. And we're going to go over a drill later that's going to help you with your feet and your foot speed to enable your jab to be faster. Double jab from here, push, both feet going. Push, both feet going. So when throwing the double jab, one of the ways you can work tactics is by mixing different jabs together with that foot step. So here, I might go arc, back fist, or I might go back fist straight through. All in all, your feet have to move double to get that shot through. You might go to the body, and then to the head. You might go with the up jab, and then an arc jab after. Double jab as one of your important tactics trained to mix up the different types of jabs so that you can work all angles, high and low, or coming up the middle with that type of footwork. Push, push. Really quick again. Another important aspect to the double jab, aside from you being able to mix up different punches and close the gap, is that if you have a very mobile opponent, you can change direction right in the middle of your tactics. So for example, if you throw the first jab and it misses, you can drive with that back leg to change direction. If I wanted to go to the left, I throw, and then I can change direction. So here, or here, and everything comes off that back foot drive. So I'm going to throw the first one, the second one, and I can throw any type of jab I want as well on the second one. All I'm doing is buying myself time to read the play, and I push for that second jab. Here I go again, and push with the second jab. So when working the double jab, one of the best type of tactics you can use when integrating the jab, not only different types, not only the speed and the footwork of the double jab, but also being able to use that back foot to change direction and adjust to wherever your opponent is going. So in this section, we're going to go over how to use head movement to set up the jab. And why we've come to head movement at this point is that all the other stuff that we've discussed before about faking and feinting, using the double jab still applies. You can all work this off of your head movement. So there are about 4 general ways that you can move your head when throwing the jab in terms of syncing them together. The first one is you're going to slip left to avoid a shot, or you preemptively slip left and then throw. The second one is you're going to slip to the right and then throw. The third one is you're going to snap your head back and then throw. Or the fourth one is you're going to slip and throw the jab at the same time. And I like to think of that as a different one because the timing is simultaneous. So let's go over them on the bag really quick again and just go over the different aspects. So first, we're going to go over slipping to the left and throwing the jab. And the thing is, when you slip left and throw the jab, it's same as the footwork before with the up jab, where instead of pushing, you need to do that little jump and shift. So let me demo it for you. I slip, and both my feet go together. I slip, and both of my feet go together. Now, this slip left can be preemptive, means the opponent doesn't throw anything and I do it, just sort of confuse them, or they actually throw a shot, and then I slip and I throw that left jab in. This is going to lead to other fakes and feints later down the road. So the key to the slip left and jab is this footwork. Right here, you're going to be sort of doing that little hop or that little jump with both feet coming together. The next one is a little bit different, and that is when you slip to the right and then you jab. And the key to that is you got to keep that weight on the back foot so that you have leverage to push off with. If you slip, it's very common to start to put that weight on the front foot when you slip right. And then from there, you have nothing to drive you forward. So when you're here in front of the bag, I slip, weight is on that back leg, and I can drive forward. I can even slip while I come forward and then come through again. Slip right, and then come through with that jab. So head movement to set up the jab is excellent for gaining distance and also making it less predictable where your head will be. If you're a long range fighter or you're just really good at gauging distance, you can also snap back. The key to the snap back is this chin has to stay tucked. Here, your weight shifts back. Now, a lot of people have a hard time with this, with their weight going back. You have to practice it to get that flexibility and that sweet spot. Your calf and your knee are going to bend and allow you to have a little bit of give. You can also step if you want. Step gives you a little bit more leverage to push off, but it costs you time because it took you time to step back. So from here, if you've gauged your distance right, snap back, the weight is on that back leg, and then you come forward with that jab. Snap back, and then come forward with that jab. Or from here, you're gonna snap back, and come through with that jab off of the snap back. So those are the three main ones where you're gonna move your head first, and then come through with your jab. The next one, which is one of my favorite because the timing is simultaneous, you're gonna slip and throw that jab at the same time. So from here, the key with this is when you throw it, make sure that your head and your arm don't separate. Keep the same solid technique as we taught earlier with the basic fundamentals of the jab, where that shoulder extends fully through and is in contact with your tucked chin. And all I'm gonna do from that position is leave my hand where it is, bend my body down as I come through, and that's how my target goes. So when I do that while stepping, this is how I land with a slip jab. And this way, if the opponent is throwing something at me, I can get past it as I land my shot at the same time. So slip jab, this is the most important part, keeping that shoulder and chin tight on the finish. And here I go. And then from there, I can come through with other offense. So that's a summary of how to work head movement and the jab together. Now we're gonna go on to something similar, which is defense, but it's active defense. So before we went over head movement, evasiveness, now we're gonna go over active defense by actually stopping punches. Now the most basic fundamental defense for catching the jab is using your right hand to parry, turning this palm in front to stop the jab. And there are different ways that you can do that. You can do that at the same time, or you can do that in sort of a 2-beat rhythm while you do it afterwards. So here, let's go over it really quick. In order to land that jab and counter it, one of my favorites is the stop hit. As soon as the opponent throws a jab, you go with your block and throw your jab at the same time. So it's similar to slipping, but you're gonna stop their jab and come through. So here, I stop their jab and guard my face and come through. Go over that again. As soon as they throw, I'm gonna come through with that. Now, the downside to that is if you don't make it in time with your jab, or they slip and they throw another shot, you're walking right into that. The beauty is that if you time it right, you're coming through with a beautiful jab. The safer one, the less risky one, but the harder one to land is when you wait on the 2-beat rhythm. So they throw the jab, you parry it first, you catch it first. Often you're gonna use this foot to buy yourself a little bit of space, and then you come through. Now, this one is nice if you know that they're just gonna throw one punch, or you've been moving so quickly that they tend to only throw the jab, and you're gonna pounce on them afterwards. So using defense here, you're gonna block. When they throw, you block, and then you go in with your own jab. You're moving, you block, and then you go in with your own jab. I block, and then you go in with my own jab. I block, and then I go in with my own jab. So using defense, using the catch, there are 2 ways you can counter and time the opponent's jab to land yours. One is the stop hit. You go in at the same time. The second one is the 2-beat rhythm. Catch, counter. Often use this back foot to buy yourself a little bit of space. And then you go in. It's slower, but it's safer. The last one is similar to what we talked about earlier with the short jab. It doesn't always have to be a short jab. It's when you're gonna block. Let's say the opponent throws the right hand or is throwing power shots, and you have to cover with both hands like so. In this case, you're gonna cover, and you don't always wanna have to throw the left hook. Let's say you're having a hard time landing it, or it's just too long of a path to get to the opponent. They throw the right hand, you block, and then from here, you throw the jab straight off. The thing with throwing the jab off the cover is you have to get comfortable with throwing the jab from a high position on your head as opposed to down here where it's often very comfortable. So work on that as well. The cover counter. You cover like so, and then you throw the jab straight out. You can cover and block against anything and throw the jab straight out. So throwing the jab as a counter, moving the head is one aspect. Work on the 4 that we went over. Throwing the jab as a counter using defense, the 3 we went over. the stop hit, the 2-beat rhythm, catch counter, and also covering to block power shots and coming through with the jab. So one of the ways to effectively set up your jab with tactics is to integrate your footwork into everything else that you're doing. Now, a lot of the other stuff still applies, fakes and feints, double jabs, although there is specific footwork for some of those aspects as well as the head movement. But here we're gonna go over some general aspects of footwork as well as some specific tactics you can use to better set up your jab. The first thing in general that I recommend is train to work from lateral motion. Lateral motion means that when you're in front of your opponent, you are moving side to side. Always side to side, whether you're circling, moving left or moving right. When you're moving side to side like so, it makes it harder to predict when you're going to attack. It also makes it harder to know where you will be if your opponent wants to attack you. You're moving, then they attack, and then you can always shift, or you're moving one way, and then you shift and change directions. It's harder to time you. Also, when your feet are always moving, you can use the change-up to set up your jab by how you place your feet. And so that's what we're gonna go over in the upcoming section. As I move around like so, it may seem, let me see if I use an example on the bag. As I move around like so, it may look like I'm the exact same distance from the bag, but I can always steal space. Here I am, just able to touch the bag. As I move to the right, I can steal a little bit of space. And there, boom, now I'm just a little bit closer. So with the lateral motion, you can play with distance a little bit in order to set up your shots. So always work from lateral motion as much as you can. It doesn't always have to be active like so. It can just be walking, faking, shifting, walking, using your eyes to gauge your ideal distance while using your feet to disrupt your opponent's distance. Now, one of the first things you can do with footwork to set up your jab is to create an angle. And the way you do that is to take the back leg and you're gonna pull it in a little bit, either to the right or the left, depending on which direction you're going. Let's say I'm moving to the right. I'm over here. I'm moving to the right. I'm gonna take that right foot, and on one of my steps, I'm going to pull it forward just a little bit, not an exaggerated amount, but instead of being equidistant, I'm gonna go forward. Instead of sideways, which is the way I'm going, I'm gonna go forward. And since my foot is freshly planted right here, there's energy driving into the ground that I can use to drive forward, and I come through with my jab. So you can set your jab up by stepping slightly forward, and you don't even need much, just a couple inches to bring the angle forward and also get a little bit of power coming out of that leg. Just to be really specific with it, if here, I'm right in front of the bag, then I go like this, and now I'm on an angle. Before I was here, and now I'm there. And I'm gonna use that. As I move to the right, I'm gonna use that little step with my back leg to create the angle in this way. Now I can use that same concept going back to the left. As I'm going to the left, I go left, 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 and then I'm gonna take this back foot and just step it a little bit behind, just a little bit closer and behind my lead leg. So now I have an angle this way. And if the opponent is moving to their left, I can also use that angle to time them. So for example, let's say they're here and they're gonna move this way, I can use that back foot to time them. So let me just show you again. I'm moving this way, and then I use that back foot to change the angle, similar to what we did with the double jab earlier. Let me break it down for you in slow motion. I'm walking to the left, even, and then I'm gonna take this left foot, put it behind, and then I'm gonna drive through. That not only gets me closer, but it allows me to create an angle. If I do it without the bag, I move left, I take this back foot, put it behind, and then I can drive right through and create the angle, similar to what we did with the double jab and the changing directions, but you're gonna do it right out of your lateral motion. Using that back foot, either coming forward or hiding it behind the lead leg to create the angle to set up your jab. Now, the next aspect of footwork that's important to have in your arsenal, although you may not use it a lot, depending on what type of a fighter you are, is to be able to move backwards with your jab. If you are an outside long-range fighter, this is essentially important for you to keep the distance, to keep your ideal distance, so you can land long-range punches. Even if you're an inside fighter, sometimes you might tumble in too close, and you need to buy yourself a little bit of space. Being able to move backwards with your jab gives you that option. So let's go over the fundamental technique of moving backwards with your jab right now. Generally, what I want is when my punch fully extends and hits, that's when my lead foot lands. I'm going to move my back leg first to start it. And when I move my front leg in, my jab lands at that same time. So I'm here. And so this is how you would practice it just in a regular gym setting. Once you get more comfortable with it, you can shuffle step with it a little bit quicker. Like so, but the basic drill starts here. 1, 2, 3. The other great thing about moving backwards with your jab is that you can create angles moving backwards so that your opponent has to follow you in that direction. Makes you harder to hit. I can go back to my right. I can go back to my left by fading. Like so. Once you start with the fundamental drill, work up to the shuffling, and add punching backwards with a jab to your arsenal. You can also train it on the bag by swinging the bag. I swing, I come in, I swing, so you may not use this a lot right now in your boxing, depending on the type of fighter you are, but it's very important to practice it as a tactic to add to your arsenal. Now, the last thing that you can do with footwork, which is more of a sort of a defensive mechanism or a safety mechanism, is to pivot with your jab. So you may go in and work, and you want to get out to safety, you're going to pivot with your jab. Now, first thing about the pivot, when you pivot, you have to make sure that your body stays at the same level. You've got to be careful not to come up. Now, one of the ways to make sure your body stays at the same level is that your balance has to be even, and you almost may even want to drop a little bit or think that your weight is sinking. So that way you don't go like this. Let's say you're throwing a combo, you're inside and you want to get out safely. You can step with this lead foot, pivot, and throw the jab. You can either use this to get out, or after you pivot and throw the jab, if you see an opening, you come right back in with offense. Pivoting with the jab is a great way to get yourself to safety, create angles, and potentially come back with more offense. So a simple drill that you would integrate for pivoting with the jab is this. All you do is step with the left foot just to buy yourself a little bit of space. Pivot, throw the jab. Step, step. Same thing on the bag. It's a little bit harder on the bag because it doesn't move like an opponent. Same thing here. You work, step like so, and then pivot. You're working, step, and pivoting with the jab. You're working, step, and pivot with the jab. So footwork is essential to integrate with your jab to set up your offense more effectively, using lateral motion, being able to work moving backwards, pivoting with the jab. All of these are important to integrate with your training so that you can use footwork, head movement, defense, and everything else to more effectively set up your jab. So in this section, we're going to go over training and how to train to have an excellent jab. Now, one thing to know is that the effectiveness of your jab and training specifically of the jab is going to relate to the overall picture, all the other training that you're doing. So we're not going to discuss that in this video, but just as a general guideline, if you are a beginner boxer, sort of a new boxer, you're probably looking at around 40 to 70 or 40 to 80 total rounds per week. That's excluding conditioning and running. We're talking just specific boxing rounds. So just imagine, even if you didn't do anything jab specific, how many jabs you would throw in all those rounds. If you're looking at elite amateur, you're looking closer in the 80 to 100 rounds per week, sometimes closer to just 100 plus rounds a week. And again, think of how many jabs you'll be throwing with 100 rounds of training. And then if you're looking at very elite amateurs or pro boxing, you're looking at over 100 rounds a week. So take that into consideration when looking at these specific drills. But all in all, what's very important to elevate your jab is to work on it specifically. And we're going to go over 4 drills here that you can work on the bag, as well as 2 other exercises, 2 other drills that you can use to really improve your jab and integrate everything together. The first thing is just the jab itself. So what you want to do is work it so that your technique becomes more efficient, so that it becomes overloaded. You basically want to tire yourself out. And so the way I like to do that is do a single, a double, a triple, and a quadruple jab, and then start over back at the beginning, resting as much as you need. As you get in better shape, you'll be able to rhyme these off much faster and much smoother. So here you'll start. So I like this drill for really working the jab specifically, getting yourself tired, conditioning yourself for the endurance, conditioning yourself for the motion. Now next, in the next round, what you want to work on more are tactics. Tactics and what I call dexterity. Dexterity is, to me, with boxing, is how well you can go from one type of motion to the next. So that may be different punches, or it may be different types of jabs. So specifically for dexterity, you could just stand there and work. Just move your left hand around in different ways. Get the shoulder used to working at different angles. Don't take this one too seriously, just have fun with it. You can throw the straight jab, back fist jab, up jab, over jab, left hook, uppercut, shovel hook, double, triple jab. Just get used to working it to get your shoulder loose and used to working all those different motions. Now, specifically with tactics, you can work on tactics that are in the video specifically. You might want to spend a round just working on head movement and working the jab off of head movement. Or you might want to spend a round working the jab off of your active defense or with footwork. Mixing up all your tactics. Of course, if you're putting in all your rounds, then those tactics are going to come out in all the other work you're doing. So you might want to work on something specific, either to make it really good or to bring it up a level, or you're going to just work on it generically and integrate it into all your other boxing. So for the conditioning side of it, tactics, working specific aspects that we went on in the video, but also working the dexterity, putting different types of jabs together. Say the vertical jab and the over jab, or a standard jab and an up jab, or the short jab, slip, and then throw a punch. Working everything together to get it going so that your tactics have smooth transitions. Another thing that you can do to really improve your jab is to put your jab at the end of every combo. And this is something that you can use practically in a fight. You can throw any combo you want and finish with the jab or a double jab at the end. Every combo, whether I'm working the body, I put in that double jab at the end. Or I may come over top, work the side, finish with the jab at the end. Pop, pop. Start with the jab, finish with the jab. So this is one way to really build the efficiency and the transitions in your technique with the jab. Put the jab at the end of everything that you do in your regular work. If your jab needs improvement, it will definitely come up a level. If it's already at the level, it's definitely going to improve from there and become one of your superior weapons. Now, another drill that I like to do for cross-body learning is to work out of the southpaw stance. If you've never done this before, or if you're a southpaw, work out of the orthodox stance. If you've never done this before, you're going to find it very difficult with the hands and the feet together. But it's nice for that cross-body neuro learning, and also so that you can see and balance your body out and work on different aspects of your boxing. So from here, I'll just work the jab out of my southpaw. So you have all kinds of training that you can do for your boxing, focusing each round, specifically when it comes to the jab. These are a number of ways that you can integrate jab tactics and conditioning into your training to take your jab up another level. So one aspect that's very important for having an effective jab is your training and conditioning and the drills that you implement into your training. And they don't have to be fancy, they don't have to be complex, but they do have to be effective and straight to the point. And there are two that I found are excellent because they simulate very closely the footwork movement in an actual jab. The first one is essentially just the pendulum step, because when you have to attack your opponent, you have to move to your opponent. When you get into that range, if you're not going to stay there and fight, then you've got to get out of range. So we're going to work on a pendulum step, coming forward with the jab and popping back out. And again, this is one of the most important things with boxing is you're not just training muscles, you're training motions and movement. So everything together, pushing in this direction, syncing it with your hands, syncing it with your position is very important. So simply enough, here's how the motion goes. I'm going to just start with the front foot. From here, I step the front foot over, I land on the ball of the foot, I don't have my heel strike, I land on the ball of the foot, I push up my jab, and I come back. I snap up my jab, and I come back. Now, practically, you're going to want to bring this back leg in, so you're going to go here. And that back leg is going to move just a little bit, and then go back. So then you sort of get into a rhythm. See how my front foot is moving? I'm closing the distance, and my back foot is moving. And this is going to be more on your single jab. When you're working the double jab, that's another drill that I'm going to show you in a minute on how that sort of footwork goes and the way you can drill it. This, if you can do this for a minute, that's pretty good conditioning. Or what you can do is you could do it in fast bursts for 20 or 30 seconds, take sort of a 10-second break to simulate maybe a break in a fight, and then go at it again. The longer you can do this motion in fast bursts, the more your body is adapted, the faster your feet, the faster your hands. So all you're going to do is work it like so. Now, as you saw, I integrated other punches through the right hand off of that jab, the left hook off the right hand after the jab. So you can add punches if you want to that. Work the jab, get used to that in and out motion. That is going to go a long way to giving you more drive, balance and position, and speed. It's going to make your jab more powerful, definitely going to make your jab faster and more effective. Now, another drill that's very effective is sort of like this line agility drill. And you can also do this in a ladder if you have one of those step floor ladders. But it's not specifically all the ladder drills you can do, it's mostly this motion that is gonna help you because of the way the double jab footwork goes. A lot of the double jab footwork, you're stepping in with that back leg and then moving. It's not always a push to close distance. Sometimes it's quick steps to adjust distance and to be able to move in and out. So that footwork is simulated with this drill where you're gonna move your feet exactly like that. Now what you're gonna do is set up 2 lines just outside shoulder width, so that way you're getting that push-off motion. From the center, you're gonna go to the right, step over, lift the left foot up. Step the left foot back, step in the right foot, left foot with the right up. Back, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left. And so this is the general, I'm almost stopping and starting. Now, once I get comfortable with this rhythm, then I'm gonna pick up the pace and I can work this for 20, 30 seconds at a time and then take a break and relax my calves. I'd recommend you do this in 30-second bursts with maybe a 20 or 30-second break. If you can do this for 2-3 rounds, that's pretty good. You may even want to push yourself to 4 rounds. Again, if your feet have endurance and can last that time, then that won't be a tiring factor for you, and your hands are just going to have that much more energy. So again, let's just go over it from here. Right, this foot comes up, left, right, left, right. And then I start to pick it up, and I almost want that stop and start feel. Quicker the better. If you want, you can also do it more forward and backward to simulate how it will be when you're jabbing. When you're working your hands and your feet together. And if you're southpaw, same thing. You can work it going the other direction. So 2 ways to use your feet for the jab: the push and the shuffle. And then you can also mix it up where you push and then shuffle together depending on what's going on with your boxing. But you don't need fancy drills, you don't need a lot. Push these as hard as you can for the time given in little bursts. If you can, a couple of rounds. And this is gonna go a long way to conditioning your feet and your legs for speed and recovery, and that's gonna make your jab that much more effective. I hope you found the information that we covered in that video on the jab helpful, and I hope you're able to implement the concepts and drills into your training to take your jab to the next level. Now, if you want more videos and information and instruction on complete aspects of boxing, footwork, head movement, defense and counterpunching, or just being able to understand boxing from the ground up, make sure to check out my shop at precisionstriking.com.